This one shift will make you emotionally untouchable. Most people think they're emotionally reactive because someone triggered them. But the real reason is far quieter, far more personal. You feel guilty. You get triggered because you are guilty. After years of self inquiry, observation, and brutal honesty with myself, I arrived at one simple but uncomfortable truth. You become emotionally reactive because you feel guilty. And guilt comes in two forms. One, guilt based on truth. The guilt you earned through your action. Something you did, thought, or felt that doesn't align with who you want to be. And second is guilt based on belief. The guilt your subconscious fabricates even when you did nothing wrong. Whenever guilt rises, you push it away. You resist it, you deny it, you defend yourself from it. But here's the twist. You're not defending yourself from other people. You are defending yourself from yourself. You're fighting your own emotion as if it's an enemy. And that fight is what makes you reactive. The cure is deceptively simple. Pause and ask one question. Is this true? If it is true, admit it to yourself. If you feel ashamed, explore it. Explore, find answers. If something's off, correct it internally. Because your emotions belong to you alone. Your inner world is your jurisdiction. No one else lives there and no one else knows but you. The moment you stop pushing your guilt away, it loses its power. The moment you stop defending your image, you stop bleeding energy outward. And this is the entry point to becoming emotionally untouchable. But to understand why this works, you have to see the psychological machinery behind guilt. Because there are three human cravings that guilt hijacks: innocence, internal consistency. Third is control. Let us walk through each. The human craving for innocence. Humans, we cling to innocence like survival instinct. We are raised in a world of moral labels: good, bad, right, wrong, until they fused with our sense of worth. Losing innocence doesn't feel like making a mistake. It feels like existential, like losing your safety. This is why people bend over backwards to appear good, kind, and moral. They are not protecting integrity. They are protecting an identity they think keeps them safe. And the moment guilt pokes that image, they react. Here's a real example. This happens a while ago. A viewer on my YouTube once commented on my channel, suggesting my replies on the comment felt AI generated. They weren't wrong, but not fully right either. I wasn't using AI to fake my replies. I was using it to practice myself, to practice conversation after decades of barely speaking to people. Did I feel guilty? Yes. Not because I lied, but because there was some truth there. Instead of defending myself, I simply said, "Thank you for the advice." Then I went inward. I asked myself, is it time to respond on my own, not enhancing my raw replies with AI? And then I answered, yes, it's time. So I adjusted. No drama, no defense, no explanation. If I had been obsessed with innocence, I would have reacted. But why defend something when the truth is already clear inside me? If you're guilty, you're guilty. Face it, fix it, move on. People only react when they're trying to preserve an image, an illusion, instead of their actual integrity. And here's the truth nobody admits. No one cares about your innocence as much as you do. No one cares about your image as much as you do. The world moves on. You're the only one stuck babysitting your ego. When you accept what is true, guilt collapses. It becomes irrelevant. No image to protect, no innocence to defend, no emotional panic, just reality. And that's where emotional untouchability begins. Because you know the truth and you have a full power, like a full jurisdiction of what you need to do on whatever happening inside you. The second one is the human craving for internal consistency. The second reason guilt wrecks people is deeper. The psyche hates contradiction. Humans, we need our inner world to feel coherent. Who I believe I am must align with how I actually behave. When guilt emerges, it exposes a crack in that identity, a contradiction. And instead of acknowledging the misalignment, people defend the image that's already breaking. Because most people don't live in reality, they live inside a constructed version of themselves, a curated identity built from outside expectations, approval patterns, and survival mechanisms. Guilt doesn't just say, oh, you did something wrong. It says your image is collapsing. You have to do something about it. And when your identity is built from the outside in, that collapse feels like death. So why people panic? When someone points out an inconsistency or when guilt exposes it internally, people react not because they're attacked, but because their illusion is. Their illusion starts to break. Energy shoots outward. They defend, justify, debate, explain, attack, project, not to protect the truth, but to protect the image they have fused with their worth. Guilt is an alarm. It announces your truth and your image no longer match. And instead of fixing the truth inside, people try to control perception outside. This is why they become emotionally fragile. When your identity depends on outside validation, every contradiction becomes a threat. So you have to defend, you have to fight. When your identity is sourced internally, contradiction becomes information, not danger. That's the difference. The moment you admit the misalignment, guilt dissolves and reactivity ends. It's the shift from image to integrity. And that shift makes you untouchable. The craving for control. The third reason guilt hijacks you is brutally simple. Humans want control. We want to manage. We want to control. We want to manage how people see us, how people react, how the story unfolds, the emotional atmosphere, and the narrative of who we are. But the more you try to control the outside, the more the outside starts controlling you. Trying to control the perception of others exposes your insecurity, the exact thing you are hiding. People sense it instantly. Instability has a scent. It is when you over explain, over justify, rush to respond, defend every detail, dump information to prove you are good, to prove your point. You think you're protecting yourself or helping them to understand you. You're actually leaking your power. You are showing your emotional blueprint to the world. Once they see it, they can touch it. If they can touch it, they can shake it. And if they can shake it, they can manipulate it. Not because they're strong, but because you opened the door. You let them hold your emotional world through projection. Projection is the ultimate loss of control. Reacting to guilt makes you project your unresolved emotion onto others. Projection is basically saying, here, I can't handle this. I can't handle my emotion. You take responsibility for how I feel. It's not an attack. It's an abandonment of your self authority. Guilt drives you to try controlling the outside to escape the inside. And that is the trap. Real control comes from internal ownership. Real control isn't coldness. It isn't suppression. It isn't pretending not to care. Real control is simple. Stop resisting what's happening inside you. When you stop fighting guilt, when you stop fighting your emotions, you stop giving people access. When reactivity dissolves, you stop broadcasting your emotional weak points. You stop outsourcing your power. You take the ownership, you take the responsibility, and suddenly the outside becomes irrelevant. People can say whatever they want, but none of it enters your inner world because you have the full command, a full authority of what's happening inside you. You are no longer defending an image. You are standing in truth. When the inside is stable, the outside cannot shake anything. That is emotional untouchability. Everything comes down to one internal shift. Stop resisting guilt. Face it. Because guilt is only dangerous when you push it away. Because behind guilt are three psychological cravings. One, innocence. You want to be seen as good. Second, internal consistency. You need your identity to feel coherent. And third, control. You want to manage perception and outcomes. When you deny guilt, all three get threatened and you react from panic. When you accept guilt, all three stabilizes. You don't need to defend your innocence. You align your identity internally and you no longer outsource emotional control. And suddenly, you'll be surprised no one can touch you emotionally because you're not defending illusions. You are standing on your truth and have conviction, full conviction of your being. Becoming emotionally untouchable isn't about being cold, numb, or detached. It's about being so internally aligned that nothing outside, that nothing external disrupt your equilibrium. It is about knowing yourself so honestly that no accusation, comment, assumption, or reaction can destabilize you. You stop defending, you stop projecting, you stop controlling what isn't yours to control, and you start owning the only territory that ever mattered, your inner world. Once you do, your power returns home and you become untouchable from the outside. I hope today's video gave you something real to reflect on and see yourself a little clearer today. If it did, let me know in the comments. I would love to read them. Once again, I'm Joanna Harris. Thank you so much for watching and see you guys on the next one. Bye!